Good evening. The meeting will come to order. Welcome to the November 12th, 2013 Board of Selectmen meeting. We have quite a full agenda tonight, including an executive session late in the agenda. So first of all, we'll has everyone reviewed the minutes of the October 8th meeting?
Make a motion to accept October 8th minutes as printed.
Second.
All in favor? Thank you. Next is a public hearing, consideration and approval of annual revised MMA DHHS General Assistance Ordinance appendices.
You may recall doing this a couple of months ago. This particular set of changes is a little bit unusual. It's in shorthand, to codify a new GA formula, including overall maximums revised, and changes in law that affect eligibility. The details are in a letter from DHS attached to the e-packet, but basically this is a housekeeping exercise.
Okay.
So we're recommending approval.
Okay,
Still have to have a public hearing though.
Right.
are there any comments from the public on this? Yes? If so, I see you look as though you want to get up to the podium. Yes? No? Oh, come on. Okay, if there are no comments from the public, do we vote on this?
To declare the public hearing closed.
Yes, okay, thank you. I declare the public hearing closed. And then we'll hear
I'll make a motion to accept the new GA guidelines as delivered from the state.
Second.
comment. All in favor? Unanimous? New business, or do we go on to B? This, do we have to do all three of those?
No, that was
No, you're all set.
Just
You're all set.
Okay.
You're now on the Raymond Village Electric.
Okay, and new business. First part of our new business is a very pleasurable one for me. That is to present the appreciation plaques to Peter Levitt from his work for Raymond over many years, and to Patrick Clark, who is here. Can I get over there and read this to you, Pat? You probably know what it says, but come on over to the podium. And I must say that I have worked with Pat Clark, and everything that we say in here is absolutely true and more. This is an appreciation of Patrick L. Clark. Patrick L. Clark is recognized on this day, Tuesday, November 12, 2013, for his dedicated service as a member and chairman of Raymond's Planning Board. Since 2006, he has guided Raymond through complex and important planning and development issues, while always accomplishing a fair and balanced review process. His leadership as chairman was exemplary, making the work of the planning board thorough and efficient. Thank you very much, Pat.
Those are the kind of public hearings I like to get, though. Thanks a lot. It's been a pleasure working with the town of Raymond. It sounds tedious and like it's a big issue, but it was actually a pleasure to serve. And I regret that I have other circumstances which don't allow me to continue. So, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank
Good
you.
luck.
The other plaque is an appreciation. Peter J. Levitt is recognized on this day, Tuesday, November 12, 2013, for his dedicated work on Raymond's Zoning Board of Appeals. His work on the ZBA since 1986, he was one of the original members, has been marked by a dedication to protecting our natural environment while carefully balancing landowner rights. His leadership over the past 27 years is greatly appreciated, and he will be missed. Okay, moving right along. Library annual report, Alyssa Gifford. That's a familiar name.
Good evening. My name is Elisa Gifford, 546 Webbs Mills Road. I am one of the trustees of the Raymond Village Library. Thank you for the opportunity to share with you and the community an inside look at some of the results of the momentum that is gaining speed since Sally Holt became director of the Raymond Village Library. We are pleased to announce that we have a balanced budget. One of the high points this year was the garden tour, which netted the library over $4,300. A recent high point is an anonymous donation in the amount of $5,000 to the library, earmarked for removing and replacing our floor coverings. Some of the interesting statistics, they are interesting to us in the library, that took place between September of 2012 and September of 2013 are that patron usage is up by 25%, the DVD collection is up by 98%, nonfiction collection is up by 48%, and the ebook collection is up by 45%. This one is particularly important because there are some publishers who do not sell ebooks to libraries, and or they will charge double the going rate. So the fact that we've been able to acquire as many is pretty good for a small library. Computer usage is up by 30%, and here's the big one. Adult programming is up by 290%. Children's programming is up 19%. The Sparks Art program that was held at the Public Safety Building this past spring, which was funded by the Cornerstones of Science grant, had in attendance 175 adults and children. 8 grants have been awarded to the library this year, the largest of which is the Stephen and Tabitha King grant in the amount of $10,000 for the purpose of technology and automation. Other notable grants were from Norway Savings Banks for children's books in the amount of $500, the Brownstone Book Fund also for children's books in the amount of $1,500, and the Cornerstones of Science, which I just mentioned, was $1,000. A recent one from the Friends of Maine Libraries supports the school's Common Core curriculum. A typical day in the life of our director might go something like this. She might search for grants. She might attend local COHA users group or the RSU 14 library group or the regional library directors meeting. By the way, the Southern Maine Library District has 67 libraries. There is one consultant who visits all these libraries, and her name is Deb Clarkson, and she is a Raymond resident. Sally might also participate in professional online webinars. She did attend an 8-week Microsoft Word adult education course. She might write her column for the Wyndham Eagle or the one for the RVL e-newsletter. She regularly emails the trustees information and the board information on current issues of importance to libraries. She might pick up requested interlibrary loan materials from area libraries. But wait, these are things that Sally does off the clock, and that often amounts to 30 to 50 hours a week. While the library is open during the 27 hours a week, Sally greets and welcomes all patrons to the library. She's always available to all patrons, either in the library or by phone, with whatever library tool or resource is necessary to answer each question or request. She troubleshoots the computers and answers any questions patrons may have for the online computer at the library. She also works with Connie. Connie Bouchard is an assistant librarian at the circulation desk. And of course, she monitors the staff and volunteers. Raymond Village Library is now automated using a system called COHA, and you do have that in your packet. COHA is a word from the Maori language meaning gift. Well, what is the gift? The gift is that it is free and web-based and available to all libraries around the world. What does it do? It keeps track of the library catalog, it stores patron information, and tracks transaction data between patrons and materials. For our library, this process has taken approximately 3 years, beginning in September of 2010 and not ending, it's actually ongoing. But by 2013 in September, it was up and ready to be used. During that 3-year time, there were approximately 17,000 items in the library. Each one of needed to be entered into the database. It took approximately 15 to 30 minutes per item to be entered into the database. So you can appreciate how many hundreds of volunteer hours went into producing the database. And as I said, our assistant librarian, Connie Bouchard, is the go-to person at the library for COHA. She concentrates much of her time on that. Other technology upgrades include 4 new computers. When Sally arrived, there were only 3 computers at the library. There are now 2 new ones at the circulation desk, one for use by patrons for online access. There's also one called an OPAC computer, which means online patron access, and that is for the computer for the library catalog. There's now a dedicated server for the library that's located in the server closet here at the town office. Much of the library's continuing momentum is a result of response to patron requests and community needs. Since the library now has a professional librarian as director, patron expectations are higher for expanded information and services, thus the increase in programming. Some of the collection has been rearranged to be more visible and accessible, and now there are no circulating materials in the room that's now designated as the office. Is that correct? One significant addition this year is of 3 heat pumps, which of course provide air conditioning in the summer and supplemental heat in the winter. And you can imagine that this provides a much more comfortable and healthy atmosphere for both staff and patrons, as well as providing necessary temperature regulation for all the electronics and the collection itself. The timing of our annual appeal has been changed from being launched in the fall to being launched in the summer to include many of our seasonal residents and visitors. And of course, I must add that there's never a cutoff date for the annual appeal. We're always happy to receive donations at any time. They can be made at the library or online at raymondvillagelibrary.org through PayPal securely. Notable as one of the community outreach additions is that Sally spends time at both the elementary school and our middle school. This is done on her time when she's not at the library, a day off. She tries to be there at least once a month. At the middle school, she gives database instruction. She may provide research, project help. She did Career Day, I believe, at the middle school and also Community Day. At Raymond Elementary, she provides nonfiction informational books to supplement their curriculum. There's also now a new daycare center adjacent to the library that visits at least once a week. So what does the future of the library look like? Raymond Village Library is fortunate to have strong tradition and history because it enables confidence in its future. A library service has just been completed, the results of which are still being compiled, but early results suggest that most frequently mentioned are expanding the collection, the entire collection, expanding programming, and expanding the library's physical space. The board will be meeting this Saturday to review and work on a 3-year strategic plan, as well as discuss challenges such as long-term space options to meet library and community needs, attracting, training, and retaining a volunteer force in addition to our many dedicated volunteers, exploring and expanding fundraising options, exploring how our library will remain relevant and keep pace with rapid changes in library standards and patron demand. We will also be exploring the future of the library. What should it be? Should it be independent? Should it be a hybrid, semi-public, private organization, or should it become a town department? Raymond Village Library strongly supports our director and works with her on initiatives embracing responsible fiscal, administrative, and public relations policies as they relate to our library and our community in accordance with established but rapidly changing library standards. To quote Sally, "If people see a library as consistent and is willing to transform and travel the path of the future, they will come to the library." So please come to the library at 3 Meadow Road, online at raymondvillagelibrary.org, or by phone 655-4283. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Any
you.
questions?
Just a comment. I'm really impressed with all you've done over the past year. Things are really happening, and Sally, I know a lot goes out to your effort and what you're doing, and we appreciate it. We've been involved with the library for many years in many capacities, and just impressed with everything you're doing there. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next item is request for reconsideration of tax-acquired property bid. Board of Selectmen, that is us. What is the,
I think after the last meeting, when I left the meeting, I was a little bit just thinking through, like, it wasn't put out there, I guess, a minimum bid, like the 20%. So with Mr. Viola coming in and meeting that 20%, I guess I would like to see the board reconsider it and give it to him. You know, see if we want to do a motion to award him the bid.
First of all, Mr. Viola, we didn't respond because we can't. It wasn't, we weren't trying to, saying we just don't want to reply. This is all, it's legal, we can't respond to you. So just so you know that ahead of time, it's not that we didn't want to. The problem with just reconsidering it and awarding it is I think you have a lot of legal issues at that point.
Yeah.
Because you did not accept the bid, and now you want to open it up again and award it, and there's all kinds of legal issues behind that. I don't think we as a board can do that.
So what would be the next step? Do we put it back?
The next step is to put everything back out. Anything that wasn't acquired, you can put it out to bid again. And if you look at the meeting, the minutes from the meeting, of the pre-bid meeting, it talks about minimum bids. And it talks about how the select board can reject any of them. While it doesn't say, you have to have a 20% minimum bid or whatever to be considered. It's not in there, but it does talk about a rejection of the bids and how the selectmen can reject any bid. So I mean, you want to make sure that the town recoups what it has coming to it,
Right.
but you also don't want to just give it away.
Right,
So,
but I guess my thing on this was, and I agree with you that we can reject and we can accept or whatever, but I think it's kind of a per situation, per basis thing. We look at each property as what it is. So, and in this case, that he was willing to come up to what we were asking then for the 20%, because that is my understanding that that's what we were asking for that particular property.
That's right.
Was 20%.
no, I don't think we were
Well,
asking.
that's why I'm getting
What-
clarification.
I think we asked for a bid.
And we but.
It's not like you say, if you make this bid, we're gonna award it. But
Right, but one of the
our
reasons why I
role
think we
is
turned
to-
it down was 20%, right?
20% is not in the rule book.
no, I mean, I
No.
think we turned it down because we didn't feel the bid was high enough for the value of that property.
Okay.
Ask a question?
Are we allowed
Not yet. Well, sorry.
He's used to being chair. Well, yes, you'll have a chance.
Okay, thank you.
I think we as the board did wrong in a couple of senses, because yes, we were looking for something, but we really didn't give him much direction. Did we have to give him direction? No. Can we just turn around and say, okay, now that you've brought your bid up to what we were looking for, even though we never told anyone what we were looking for in that fashion, just to cover taxes and interest, and that was said, and that question was asked and then answered. I just think that was wrong. I think it's, unfortunately, it's wrong again by him countering and saying, yes, all right, well, I'll give you the 20%, here it is, and in my feelings, we should go with it, but again, that's wrong also, because it's not the proper way of doing it. And after the fact, we said, oh, well, we like to see at least 50% of what it's worth, or is it 20% of what it's worth, and, and I just think the whole thing was done wrong by us, in ways, and it's too bad it had to go that way.
What's the solution, Mr. Parliamentarian?
No, I mean, the solution is you have to go back out to bid. But I don't think we did anything wrong. Procedurally, we did nothing wrong. The majority of the select board rejected the bid, feeling it was too low.
By the way, 20% was never part of the process.
Can you-
Nobody
keep
remembers
saying
talking about 20%.
Immediately.
20% was
Yeah.
talked
Well,
about.
I mean, it was
but
talked
not
about.
as
Right.
part of the process.
You can't, can I ask a question about the process?
Of course.
This is probably for Joe, but I don't think, in my experience, that you could negotiate after the fact on a bid.
Sealed bid.
But right, so I don't think you could, having indicated what you'd like to get and then adjust the price. But I don't know legally, and I'm asking the question, whether you could, having rejected a bid on a good bid process, reconsider that offer and accept it, if you wanted to do that. I don't think that's a problem, but I'm asking that question.
Can you make a motion to reconsider
Yes.
if you were on the prevailing side? Probably.
Yeah.
And that would be on the original bid.
But
On
I
the
don't think
original-
you can adjust the bid upward. I don't think
Right.
that at
Right.
all.
Right.
I think what you could do possibly, I'm asking this question, is to reconsider the original bid that was rejected.
You had to have voted on the prevailing side, which means you did not accept it, and I don't know off the top of my head who those people were. I mean, I know I was one of them. I voted to, it was 5-0 to reject?
Yeah.
So anyone can make the motion to reopen it, but you can't negotiate the price.
Correct. I think that's, you don't want to do that.
But when you say motion to reopen, so we're going back to the original price and not the
Right.
14,000, it's back
Correct.
to the 8,000. or
Nine.
6,000.
Right, because after the fact, people having seen the bids, somebody might say, well, I'll negotiate with you.
Yeah.
So you can't do that, but I
Right.
think if you
No.
wanted to go back to the original number, you could do that.
Right.
Well, put it out again, and we can reject it again if it comes in too low. I mean, that's it.
But that's the
I mean,
process. I mean, the
yeah.
question is, does the board feel you have to write in there that you won't accept anything less than 20% of the value?
Well, let's have a motion to put it back out.
Well, I don't think we're done
No, not yet.
discussing it yet.
Sorry.
but-
I think my concern is, it's almost like there's not, I know there's standards, but there's not. It's confusing because people are coming in, in this case, they said this was their first time coming in, so they're coming in with a good faith bid on their part. And I don't feel like we as a board gave them any directions, because I didn't feel like we had any directions when we left. And I know, I understand what you're saying. You're saying each land, I'd like to get the money back. That would be a definite minimum for us. So is there a way that the board can set some kind of a core standards as far as what we would at least like, and say they come in, just using an example, map 33 here, 16,336, will they come in at that? Well, people may come in with the sealed bids higher, but at least we have a core standards of what we're accepting or not.
And that is the piece that I'm saying that we were wrong, and we were in the end we weren't wrong, because we didn't have the standard of saying, okay, it's going to be at least 20% or at least 50%, whatever the case may be. We didn't need to do that. Just my feelings, because I know we did the same thing on the landscaping for the town, and I feel that went totally wrong and wasn't fair and wasn't right. But
I don't think you can compare the two. I think
it's
they're,
the same kind of deal.
Nah,
We went back, and it was just.
yeah, there was an error in that whole process. This is totally different, in my opinion.
Well, how do we get people?
You don't set standards, that's the whole point of these bids. You don't set standards, it's like if you go to a car auction, you make a bid on the car, and it can be accepted or rejected.
It's just too
Yeah.
bad that if you open the bid back up, then everyone knows where they need to start.
That's the process.
I know, and that's just wrong.
Nothing wrong with that.
I know, but
I mean,
think it
the
is.
town's role is to get as much money as they can for that
Right.
piece of property.
But
Yeah.
being said in the meeting, all we want is to cover our interest and our back taxes. It was asked and then said.
Well, we said a
that's
little,
that
I said a
amount.
little
That's
bit more than that.
minimum,
I can,
yeah.
I can clarify what was said exactly, because I was asked the question,
Right,
I was
it's
asked the
right
question
there.
by Mr. Viola and several others did. I said, a baseline, of course, is covering the taxes, but you have to look at, that isn't necessarily gonna be the winning bid. You have to look at the value of the property and bid a reasonable number, and of course, that's what the.
That's in the
Yeah,
question.
and so,
Right,
so,
in the question, yeah.
exactly, and so that's what I said. Now, and I did say that the town, because that's been my experience with this group of selectmen, is not in the business of trying to retain these properties. You wanna get them back out in taxation. So the likelihood is that, the bids, if they're reasonable, be accepted. That's what I told people. That's been my experience. Now, that's not a guarantee, and I said that too, that's not a guarantee. Now, back to the issue of standards and minimum bids. I think if you wanted to set a minimum bid on a case-by-case basis on individual properties, that might be a good idea. But I think to make a blanket statement that you're gonna put in a certain percent is limiting you, and I think that properties are different, taxes owed are different, values are different. I think you want the discretionary ability to accept or reject bids.
Right.
Except if you wanted to in a particular case, you had a particular property that you felt you needed a minimum, then put it on. You didn't have that in this case.
But I just feel like we should give it, and I understand what you're saying, but I feel like there should be at least some kind of,
What you feel and what is right is two different things. It really is, because that's how I am right now, is that I'm
Well,
not happy with how it went down, but in the end, we didn't do anything wrong, but I feel we did.
right.
And that's what perturbs me about it.
Right, and I know, I understand what Joe, you were saying too, you look at the property, you gotta look at the value, you gotta look at everything, so if we put the percentage on, then we hurt ourselves. But on the other hand I would just wish that there was some kind of a standard, at least to say, to get people to come out in a good faith effort, that we're putting on a good faith effort. And I agree with you.
But we are putting on a good faith effort. We are, we're not,
So just-
Put your feelings aside.
I know, yeah, I was gonna say,
Okay,
just,
we're going over the same question time and time again.
well, I think it's just a matter of trying to
Yeah,
get it
Mike?
explained.
Under our tax-acquired property policy, which was written in 1995 and amended as recently as 2010, under 6, it says, "Sale, if a property is not retained by the selectmen under Section 5, and if the property is not redeemed under Section 4, which is by the original taxpayer, or Section 5, we keep it within the town, the property shall be sold by sealed bid or any other method approved by the selectmen which maximizes the return to the town. The selectmen shall reserve the right to accept or reject bids on any bid process. A notice of intent to sell the property shall be published in the newspaper, shall be posted in those areas where warrants are posted, and shall be sent to the taxpayer or taxpayers who lost the property by certified mail. Return receipt requested to their last known address." So, we didn't do anything wrong.
Right.
Based on our policy. By having no percentage on our sale of a policy, if a property has gone down in value because of a neighbor, and it has not been adjusted by our assessor as of yet, but the back taxes erode, if there has been damage to it because of storm or whatever, we would have the ability to sell it at 10%, unless you put a percentage on it. It may be that we look at properties individually, as somebody
That's right,
mentioned,
that's what-
and if it's a buildable lot, it may have more value as a percentage than a non-buildable lot may have.
Exactly.
But in this case, I don't feel like we did anything wrong against our stuff. I think there were expectations, and, we looked at it, and it was whatever it was, 12% or 16% or whatever, and the new number that's been thrown out there, the 14, would cover the 20, but even 20, I'm not sure for that lot. You know, I think I was talking about 50 for that lot, you know, when I was discussing the matter last month, so, or in September, I think, yeah, a couple months ago. So, we're all gonna have our opinions on value, and I think it's hard to set a line in the sand unless we know one's got more value than another. We might lower a value but, you know, would you say all taxes, fees, plus something? But plus what? You know, or up to what? I mean, taxes could be more than 50% of the value.
Well, we said it before, should be done on an individual property basis, period. Just like real estate people do. What's it worth? And do it from that standpoint. Meanwhile, we're grinding this thing to a fine white powder, so you.
I want to have Mr. Viola speak.
Yeah, Mr. Viola, did you wish to speak? Yes.
Support.
Yeah, well, hold him up.
Hi, I'm Bob Viola. I'm from Scarborough, Maine. It's my wife Peggy. We did like you to reconsider our bid on the land for a couple of reasons. We watched online your meeting last month, and it seemed like you didn't know exactly what a baseline was, what was the property, what was it worth or anything. And you awarded 2 of the pieces of property to people that were not, they didn't pay, I felt, more than the 50% you were talking about. They were at the 20. At the point of that, you said that 20% was what you were gonna go by. Granted, Mr. Bruno said that wasn't true, but it was said between some of you, 20% would be a figure you would use. That's kind of why I renegotiated my bid. But going through the way you approve some of these, map 33, lot 11, you approved a 16,336.64. That's exactly what the back taxes were. He didn't offer you any more. He gave you exactly the back taxes were. I offered you, the back taxes on mine were 84.88, and I offered 9,000. I didn't know at the time there was any type of minimum requirement bid or anything. I don't think anybody did, because he bid exactly what he was paying the taxes for. And the other piece of land that we actually, well, getting back to my piece of land, I was the only one that bid on it. It wouldn't be like I affected anybody else by asking to reconsider. There was no one else bid on it, so obviously nobody else wanted it. It wasn't a good enough piece of land for anybody to want. I was buying it, I thought, as is, could be something wrong with it. It's like Mike had mentioned, that he bought a piece of land, and they don't know if the title is correct or not, so he doesn't know if it's any good. He mentioned that during the meeting also. So I would be taking the same gamble. That's why I wasn't bidding real high. I'm not trying to get anything for a deal. I just was trying to find a piece of land that we were gonna retire pretty soon. I wanted to build up by the lake, that's all. It wasn't like I'm trying to do anything, take advantage of the property. I just put a bid in. I was the only one that bid, and it actually won. If you wanna follow the rules, you'd have to cancel all the bids and redo the whole thing all over, because no one really knew the rules. So, that's my take on it. I'm not trying to start any trouble, that's what I did. So,
You should ask.
Yeah.
Absolutely, you should ask.
But there are no rules,
Yeah, that's the
as
thing.
you just heard.
well, we should tell the other 2 people that won their bids. There
Because
are no
those-
rules, and they shouldn't have won either.
The land they bid on doesn't have the value of what you bid on.
But they did bid just the back taxes.
That's correct. But that land, there's nothing they could do with that property. It's not like they could build a house on it. So the value of it isn't
I don't
as
even know
great.
if I could build a house on the property I bought.
I
Might not
think it
pass
is a
any.
buildable
It's
lot.
We
considered a
didn't have any
buildable
time to
lot,
go
yeah.
check anything
Yeah.
out, we just bid on a piece of land.
Yeah.
I was actually bidding on another piece of land that someone else bid, and they didn't know the 20% rule either.
There is no
There is no
20% rule.
doubt.
You heard the number thrown out there, but there's nothing anywhere that says it's a 20% rule.
I heard it from the gentleman that got up and spoke.
Well,
He
then,
said that it used to be a 20%.
is he a selectman? No.
Okay.
He was a selectman, but he's no longer a selectman. Now, that 20% rule isn't written anywhere.
There is no rule.
It just,
Isn't a rule.
there is no rule. So,
I'll just say, in my opinion, it would be really nice to have a clearer idea of what to do when you go into these things. We've never done it before, so it was like a roller coaster. We were very excited to think that we'd won, and then found out that we didn't. He went to the pre-bid meeting trying to get an idea what to do, and we based our bid on the advice that was given to us, thinking that we were doing the right thing. And honestly, we bid on 2 properties because we knew there was a lot of interest in one of them, and if we had known there was a 20%, or, well, no, I know you're saying there isn't. There isn't, but I guess if we had known everything we know now, we probably would have done it differently. So
Well-
having more input or whatever would have been,
this is no different than
Nice,
going
yeah.
to an auction for the first time.
yeah.
You never know what to expect. So this is your first time. Now you kind of got a better understanding of what it takes to bid on some of these properties. And, you know, I say we put them back out to bid. I mean, that's,
We have no choice, really. That's the only
That's
way
the
to
only thing we
do
can
it-
do, yeah.
To do it by the rules that are actual rules and not just what we feel is fair market value.
So I'll get the bid on the other land that I really wanted.
not if
what
it
you're
was
saying?
already sold.
But I thought the rules weren't set.
Was
I'm
our
confused.
bid was refused because you didn't think it was high enough? Is that basically what it was?
Correct.
That you didn't make any money for the town over and above the taxes, is what you're saying? Because,
In relation to the value of the land.
Right, the land that you put on was 68,000, was
Which-
assessed at.
which that surprised me too, because the land that we were bidding on, the road shows going straight through, and there's a house at the end of the road, which we didn't have it surveyed, we had, or anything like that, but it shows a road going through from one point to the other, and there's a
Someone's
house
driveway.
there, so I don't know if there's a road going through, there was a lot of ifs with it. I'm getting nervous, so I think I'll just
But-
stop talking.
I mean, maybe this is gonna give you enough time to get a title search done on this piece of property to make sure it's free and clear. Which you may have wanted to do ahead of time.
I didn't know you could do that ahead of time.
Why not?
Sure.
I never knew you could do a title search that wasn't your land.
No.
Did the other guys do title searches? Just
No
out of
idea.
curiosity?
No idea.
I don't know. Okay, well,
Bob, I did when I bought mine. I was able to do the title search ahead of time. You can do it yourself by going to Cumberland County and going into their records, and just
well, we
looking.
researched it all. It went back to a certain lady owned every piece of land there at one time.
So-
we
We didn't do
researched
the
it.
title search.
We
And,
didn't do a title search.
and by having the title, the current title, you should be able to find if that's tied to, an insurance policy as well. And that would give you some confidence on the title clarity. So,
If I remember, we sold 2 of these properties,
That's
right?
correct.
And there were 2 we did not.
Yep.
So you have 2 pieces of property that can go back out to bid. And I'll make the motion to put those 2 pieces of property back out to bid.
Second.
Any comment? All in favor?
so
Passed.
that is
They're
much
going out to
faster,
bid.
that's much faster than we would have done.
Right.
Yeah, I think that is fair, and you have a chance to do it again. And this time, get it.
And even in some auctions, there's a reserve set on a particular item that's being auctioned, and they won't tell you what that reserve is. So you may not hit it, and once everyone stops bidding, it hasn't been met, it's not being sold.
That's right.
So there's a lot of different things in an auction.
It's kind of like eBay. You know, there are minimums set on a lot of that stuff, and you bid, you're gonna bid $10 for a $1,000 gem. You're not gonna get it more than likely, because there's a reserve out there.
You see that all the time with the car auctions.
Right.
Yeah, that happens all the time. Very often. Thank you.
Okay,
very
well,
much.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, next. Executive session, Joe, do you want? Yes. Yes, yes. Are you
No, I'm
waving?
giving them permission to leave while they're being so polite. I was giving them permission that they didn't have to keep being polite.
Thank
You
you.
wanna,
Thank
you wanna
you.
move that executive
Yeah, I'd like to
session?
move it last.
Yeah, so why don't we take up, we got finished.
This is
Okay,
much
yeah.
more polite than this.
Okay, we're going to move, since our people here, on the Tenny River easement, Ann Gass and John Rand, I don't see John, but I see Ann, and what the heck? Let's move right into that, unfinished business, and that's an update.
Hi, my name is Ann Gass. I'm from Gray, Maine, but property owner here in Raymond, and here to talk about the Tenny River Corridor Protection Project. And when I was last before you, which I think was in September, we talked about the easement, and you wanted your attorneys to take a look at that, and I believe that did take place. And I think there were sort of two questions related to that. One was, is it acceptable for the town to, or is it, legally appropriate for the town to use public funds to preserve property where there won't be full public access, where there'll be partial access? And I believe that the response from the attorneys on that was yes, that's an acceptable approach. And I was not told of any other additional concerns or issues that the attorneys had. It's a fairly straightforward easement, I think, apart from that piece. So I'm, at this point, we've talked about the purpose and the value of the protection project. It is, as we've noted before, it's part of the watershed for Sebago Lake and the drinking water for the greater Portland area. It's also an important habitat, and it's important recreationally, and we believe that it's important to preserve it for those reasons alone, and any additional public access that can happen there through snowmobiles or people walking or biking on the land, especially off-season when the scouts aren't using it, is a perfectly acceptable way to go. So I'm wondering at this point, do you have any additional questions for us? I believe, do you have the copy of what I had sent to Danielle?
Yes.
Okay, you've all had a chance to see that?
Do you have any questions here? Yes.
I don't have a question for Ann, but my second question, beside the legal issue, was whether or not the Conservation Commission had looked at the new amount requested.
The 15,000.
Right,
Yeah.
and at our last meeting, they had not, but I see in the presentation that they did take a vote through their committee, and they are in favor of that. So we do have an official recommendation from the committee now at the $15,000 level. So I did want to point that out, because those were my two questions the last time.
Yes, that's correct.
And what is your request today?
So our request from the select board tonight is that you approve $15,000 from the Conservation Commission's funds. And just to clarify, those are funds that don't come out of the taxpayer's pocket. They're funds that come from removal of land from tree growth, as I understand it. There's a fee generated from that, and that's what funds that pocket of money. And so we're looking for the select board approval of $15,000 to be used toward the Tenny River Corridor Protection Project. And my understanding is that vote would need to be created in the form, or would need to go to, or need to be enshrined in a warrant article that would be voted on next June. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay.
And
It's
that
not-
15,000 is in the Conservation Commission
account now. They
Yes,
have
they're-
close to 50,000.
50,000 is what John said last time, yeah.
And that 15,000 is also matched, isn't it, in a grant? We were able to vote on
For a
that
matching
15 grant,
grant.
wasn't there a matching grant that would match
Yeah.
that?
Yeah, the Raymond, I'm sorry,
Federal grant?
there's another, the Portland Water District grant that would be another $5,000 as a result of the town's approval of that.
Do we have any further questions? Do we have a motion? I'll make a motion, yes. Horace is from the Boy Scout Council. Oh, yeah.
Mr. Chairman, I wondered if I could say a few words on behalf of the Boy Scouts of Pine Tree Council.
Sure, absolutely. Go ahead.
Thank you, I'm Horace Horton, I'm on the board of the Pine Tree Council that governs Camp Hines and all of that. And I really came tonight with Ann just to say thanks to the selectmen for considering this, and also to say how important this property is to Camp Hines and for the future as we see it for the camp and for that area. If you're at Camp Hines on the west side of the river, and you look across, it's not a big river, but that property is really, we feel, should be part of Camp Hines. And that's why we've been dealing with Denny Cole, as you folks know, and we have an option to buy the rest of his land, and that's what this grant would help us do. And we're also looking at the rest of the land that's available on the river next to Denny's land, with the hopes that we could acquire that as well. What it means for the town and for Camp Hines is really the same thing. It will preserve, protect that property. The conservation easement on it will mean that the Pine Tree Council cannot build permanent structures on that property, but keeping it as more or less wilderness land and for scouting and other outdoor activities, but without developing it in any way. And it will protect Camp Hines as well as preserve and protect the watershed, as Ann said, and the river. I would offer the selectmen, if you'd like, we certainly would be glad to give a guided tour of Camp Hines, and most of you have been there, I'm sure, or on the Tenny River itself, if that would be helpful in your consideration. But we're very pleased we have this opportunity to increase the size of Camp Hines. And I know that the last time this was brought up, there were some questions about the usage of the rifle range and the shooting event that were there. And we hope, if you have any suggestions for us, we certainly like to solicit them from you folks and members of the town. We've had some lessons learned from the other time in late August, August 23rd and 24th. We're going to move that event past Labor Day. We hope that will help. And we're going to bring more of the activity away from the water, away from the Tenny River, away from Panther Pond. And the timing during the day will be changed so to better take into account the interests of our neighbors there. And if there's anything else that folks have as suggestions, I'd be glad to take that back to the council. So I want to say thank you, and I'd be glad to take any questions or comments if you have any.
Thank you for your offer of a tour of Tenny River. Most of us have been up and down the Tenny River a few times, so we know what it looks like. It's quite beautiful. I live there. But. So you're prejudiced? I'm a little prejudiced on that. Yes. Well, yeah, the Board of Selectmen has always listened to the Raymond Conservation Commission as far as when they're buying open space. We accept their recommendation usually and bring it to town meeting. So I'll make the motion that the Board of Selectmen support taking $15,000 out of the Raymond Conservation Commission fund for the purpose of buying this easement and the land along the Tenny River. Can I second that? You can. Second. I mean, you may not want to because of your conflict. I don't have a conflict. Well, you live on the Tenny River. I do live on the Tenny River, but not the part they're buying. Right. So, just. it's your call.
I second the motion.
Okay.
Any further discussion, Mike?
I'm gonna throw out an assumption, correct me if I'm wrong. If the purchase of the land does not go through, the money stays in Raymond. We're not donating 15,000 to
Correct.
anything but the purchase of the land.
Correct.
And the warrant article will be written as such.
Right.
Thank you.
All in favor? Thank you. All right, a motion to go into.
Good to see you,
executive
Horace. I'll make a motion to
Can I,
go.
can I throw out maybe public comment for members of the audience that might be here before we go into
Just,
executive session? Just looking at the audience?
Yeah.
Is that possible?
Sure.
I don't know if that's what the audience is waiting
No,
for.
that's okay.
but-
Public comment?
So I was looking at your neighbors in the
May have
audience,
something, I
just in
don't
case.
Bruce, do you have something for public comment?
Okay.
No, no,
Well-
go ahead. You can do it now. We'll save this for last.
Okay.
Just
I think you was, go ahead.
push a little more. Yeah, but they're not,
And on the properties.
they're abutting, but that's okay.
I guess the big announcement is that we have a piece of equipment that's being given to us. that
Excuse
will
me,
Allow us.
who are you?
Oh, sorry, Bruce Tupper, Fire Chief, Town of Raymond.
Oh, thank
Valley
you.
Road, actually.
You haven't been up there in a while, getting rusty.
It's been a while, yes, I'm sorry. We have a piece of equipment that's being donated by the Fulton Pipeline to our department to enable us to better respond to not only leaks if a pipeline were to leak, but for the region for flammable and combustible fluid leaks. We're doing a public dedication, if you will, or a press release, I guess you would call it, on Friday at 10 a.m. And we'd love to see any of you there. We'll have some light refreshments, etc. There will be some members from the press there, and the pipeline folks will be bringing the trailer in and presenting it. Now, what's contained in this trailer will be items for cleanup, splash chutes for protection, a 10-foot John boat, damming and diking type materials, floating booms, 24-inch floating booms, and absorbent materials. So it will better enable us to respond to spills, and we're looking at this as a regional asset in the spirit of regionalization, that we would take this piece of equipment and respond to area towns, should they be in need, have a tractor trailer rollover or an oil truck or something along those lines. So I wanted just to throw that out there and make sure that you folks were all aware of that. We're excited by it, and we think it's going to be a definite asset to the department, to the town.
Good. Questions?
You can keep going and click off all my list here on
Okay,
public
well,
safety if you want.
I will actually, if you would like.
Go ahead.
As you've heard
That's
me-
one announcement down.
We have a 1990 Pierce dash pumper that the town of Fry Island calls Engine 1, and we've been talking about this for a couple of years. And finally, it's come to fruition on a loan/lend type of an agreement where they just closed the island, and that truck is now in our station and will be until April when they rehabilitate the island, if you will, or reoccupy. The vehicle's been pump tested, the vehicle's been hose tested, it's mostly equipped, and it will be there for us to utilize should we have the need for a large incident, or, and my thoughts are that as we put equipment out of service for maintenance, this will make it a lot easier for us to fill the need in when we have a fire or incident, that we'll be able to respond with that particular vehicle. We're having some training on that this Wednesday. We're hoping to utilize it this Saturday at an all-day training that we do have in the town of Yarmouth at a structural training site, that we're also very excited about having that opportunity. Town of Wyndham will be covering us for that event during the day. So we're very thankful for them for being there for us, and it allows us to take what works out to be about 90% of our active members down to this training site for the training, which is very good, very good. It'll be a great experience. We have a voter receiver that was just installed down at Fry Island. They put up a telephone pole, a 60-foot pole at the end of their building for us. We mounted our antenna equipment up, and the equipment has been mounted, the radio equipment is powered and mounted inside their trailer. It's a great partnership that we've been working on for about a year for this particular project, and finally it's coming to fruition. that should be finished up on Friday with the work here at Town Hall on the actual repeater system. So we're excited about that and think that's a great partnership. I just wanted to take a minute as well and make sure that you folks all heard our thanks, the members, the officers, the Board of Engineers of the department really do appreciate your work in supporting us, and Town Manager Don Willard as well. Hey, we're pumped, we're getting a lot of things done, we're making a lot of things come to fruition, and we're headed down a good path right now. We really do appreciate your support. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We're very glad to have you, Bruce. Thank you.
The only public safety one on my list that you left out is the forestry trailer is in service and the utility vehicle associated with that. I sent out a picture to the selectmen today.
Actually missed that note and went right
And
by it, sorry.
so that's the only one that you didn't get, but you got everything else on that public safety
Yes,
list.
and Friday, if you come by, or come by anytime, if you can't make it, take a look at it. It's all lettered up and striped right now, and it's coming together very nicely. And as you know, that kind of took the place of our forestry truck that we sold because of maintenance issues. It will allow us to get our forestry equipment to a scene. And again, another regional type asset that we'll bring wherever it's needed. So, thank you very much.
Thank you. Anybody else from the audience? Okay, can I have a measure? Make a motion to go into executive session under Title I MRSA subsection 4056G, review of content with a consultant.
Second.
All in favor? We're in executive session. Vote to come out of. I'll make a motion to come out of executive session.
Second.
All in favor? We're now out of executive session, back in meeting. It's time for, I guess we went into a public comment, which there was only one. Town manager report and
Well,
communications.
Bruce clicked off a number of things I had on my list tonight, but there's been a lot of publicity about the town's recent Standard & Poor's AAA rating, but I think it bears repeating. It's such good news that, you know, very unexpected, I guess, but a team effort, the elected bodies of the town, for certain, the town employees working together. I think we got a really great show of what we're doing here in a positive way, and so it manifests itself, too, in a positive outcome, which was we opened bids on our $2 million road bond, and we ended up getting a 1.93% rate on a 10-year bond for $2 million. Our consultant with Gorham Bank, even after all the fees were paid, I think the savings was order of magnitude about $50,000. So, of course, you're not going to have to pay the rating fee again, which was around $7,800, I believe. And so bank fees, rating fee, aside from that, a $50,000 savings. So I say, all good news, a home run for the town. We're extremely pleased about it. Couldn't be better. We become one of only 3 towns in the state of Maine to achieve a AAA rating, the smallest by far of those towns, and it's very positive.
Thank you. I just want to add something to that, having been to several of those meetings in my former life, that a great deal of that rating is a result of the presentation of the information on behalf of the town. So congratulations to you, Don.
Thank you.
All right.
Oh, I have,
Confirm the meeting.
I guess I've got something else.
Yeah.
I get so wrapped up in that, we have the town office closure schedule. It'll be closed on the 28th and the 29th for Thanksgiving, and the rest of the announcements Bruce made, so.
Okay.
The next selectman.
Yeah, next selectmen meeting.
Next selectmen meeting, December 10th,
Okay,
if
thank
that's
you.
acceptable.
Yeah. As far as I'm concerned. Fiscal warrants.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion to accept payroll expense summary dated 11/12/13 for the amount of $76,233.70.
Second.
All in favor?
I'd like to make a motion to accept treasurer's warrant dated 11/12/2013 for the amount of $226,379.79.
Second.
All in favor? Thank you.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?